I welcome you, ma'am. I don't have to introduce ma'am to any one of you here, but still I don't want to miss this opportunity to tell a few words about her. Ma'am has been part of Ramaiah Medical College since 1981 and involved in trainings, UGs, PGs. She has been a professor and head of General Medicine Department for 11 years, following that being associate dean, then principal and dean from 2015 till 2022. She has multiple publications and with a particular interest in geriatrics. She's an author in one of the chapters of Davidson's Principles of Medicine. She also has a patent on a device related to female urine collection. She has always been a visionary and recognized the importance of research and collaboration. And what I would want to say about ma'am is she has encouraged each and every one of us as students, faculty, to do better. I would like to tell all of you this that 2 years back, I didn't know about, I knew about research, but I was not really into it. But she called me and said, there is a limit that you'll grow in ophthalmology, and to expand your horizon, you need to get into research and patient. And she put me into the division of research and patents. I must thank you. Opened up my mind, and now I don't just think of ophthalmology when I see a problem. It's always outside. Now, where can I collaborate? What can I see through this? I welcome you, ma'am, for this program.
We request you to accept a small question from Monica, our research associate.
I also welcome Mr. Muralidhar Osali. He has 30 plus years of experience in IT industry. By education, he is an electronics engineer, but spent most of his time as a software engineer. And he has spent the first 25 years in Wipro and then joined Larsen and Toubro Technology Services. He is currently the global head for healthcare and working with various clients around the globe. His passion is to develop products and services and that would have maximum impact to the people. Welcome, so sir. Please come back. I also welcome our beloved Principal and Dean, Dr. Shani Nui, to come on to the dais. Madam has been a true inspiration and a great support in organizing this event over 3 days, and we couldn't have done it without her constant support. I request Dr. Nandakumar also. Yes. Welcome, sir. I request all of you to stand up for the Ramaiah anthem. We now have the inauguration of the second day of the watering of the plant. I invite the stage to please water the plant.
Yeah, sustainable. That's
Of course.
yeah.
Zero status which we
I request Dr. Shani Mui to address the gathering and welcome the audience.
wishing you all a very pleasant afternoon. I'm really delighted to see so many young faces over here. And I'm really happy to welcome everyone here for this. I'm really privileged to be welcoming you all for this event. It has been the work and the support of previous administrators, deans, and faculty, which has culminated in this year's event of 3 days of Research Week. And as Dr. Tanuja said, it has been the vision of our former principal and dean, Dr. Medha Rao, to have such an event organized so that all youngsters, whether they are undergraduates, postgraduates, or young faculty, they are inspired to do more research in their fields of study. When we are talking about research, we can speak of 3 types of research. This is just in the interests of the youngsters here. I'd like to just tell you that there are 3 types. One is called basic research or fundamental research, where the main idea is to gain knowledge about a particular topic, more and more details about a particular topic. But why do we do this? It is because we need to know more about a particular topic. For example, you want to know why does insomnia occur or what causes it, so that you can work on applied research. That is the second type of research. Applied research is where you try to get solution to the problems. So you want to know which type of method can you use to treat people with insomnia. Okay, these are certain examples I wanted to give you. And the third type is called developmental research, where we need to develop new solutions for problems. And very often, these are technological solutions. Now, with technology taking a big part in medical care, we need to work with technologists, that is industries, so that we are not working in silos and looking only at the academic aspect of the problem. We need to work for solutions. And for that, we need to partner with technology, with technologists, especially industries. They will finally come up with the solution, technological solution to the problem. This is called developmental research. And in this context, we are really happy to welcome our global head for Larsen & Toubro Technological Services, Mr. Muralidhar Hosalli, to this occasion. Thank you for coming. I would also, I'm very grateful to our ex-principal and dean, Dr. Medha Rao, for having come here and encouraged us not only today, but leading up to this occasion. Welcome. And as I said, I'm really happy to see many of our faculty and many of our students who have taken the time off to be here today to be a part of this Research Week celebration. I also invite you all to see the poster presentations that are exhibited outside. Those are the prize winners, our undergraduate and postgraduate prize winners who have won prizes in any of the state or national conferences over the past 1 year. So please have a look at that after this program is over. Welcome to all of you. And especially like to thank the Division of Research and Patents, Dr. Nandakumar, Dr. Ramaiah, Dr. Dade, Dr. Divya, Dr. Dade, and Dr. Akshay for having worked so hard to make this possible. Thank you and welcome.
I request Dr. Medha Rao to talk to us about research and its importance of collaboration in research.
Importance of collaborations
Importance
for
of
research. And Mike.
Very good afternoon to all the young minds assembled here. And a note of gratitude to our global head, Professor Muralidhar. I met him on an earlier occasion, and I must ask you to excuse me because I may have to leave, and I feel bad that I'm not going to be here when you're going to address. But we will meet on another occasion. I must thank Dr. Shalini for saying nice things, and Nanda for giving me a very short notice to come and speak, and the entire DRPT. And thank you, Tanuja, for saying things nicer than what I really thought she would or she should have said. And that said, today what I'm going to say in a very few words or the next few minutes about collaborative research is I'm actually stating the obvious, because all the young minds are aware of collaborative research. The program you all had yesterday to me seemed more knowledge-packed program. And I'm pretty sure I missed it though, must be very interesting. While today's program is going to infuse a lot of awareness. And when you have to steer forward, there has to be awareness and clear insight into what you're doing. So as Dr. Shalini mentioned, collaboration is one of the ways in which research is conducted. Today we are at a point, and we believe that collaboration is a direct outcome also of globalization. And we are at a point where the buzzword is innovation, and everywhere there is emphasis across borders, between states, between countries, where what is contested is performance benchmarks. These are rising, and these benchmarks refer to a central theme: research. So research is now beyond just the buzzword, it's a routine activity. Research at all levels, at individual level, organizations, educational institutes, countries, industries, in every branch and specialty of science and technology. I must confess something. As a youngster and all through the medical professional career, I always looked up to technologists and engineers. And of course, I must confess that I did feel small whenever I interacted with engineers and technologists. I really didn't know how to overcome that feeling of smallness when you meet them. And it's only when we started collaborating with them did I realize that, okay, they also have their view of ignorance about medical sciences. Not that it made me feel good, but at least I was able to overcome the small feeling which I had when I interacted with them. This is what is collaboration about. It's nothing more than what the literal word in literature means. You collaborate. With whom do you collaborate? You collaborate not with your friends, but you collaborate interdiscipline, interdisciplines, transdisciplines, industries, academia, industry, etc. So there are various areas and sections where you can collaborate. And it has been realized amply that there are benefits of collaborating. And these can get across organizations as well. And why is this? This has evolved. It's continuously evolving. And why? Because there are benefits for sure. What are these benefits? When you collaborate, the most critical one is that you are having a very good skill mix. And for most projects which are successful in terms of groundbreaking outcomes for the larger good, they have a skill mix in their group. You take anything, for example, there was an innovation of solar energy aircrafts, I remember. And one of the things which he said was his team compromised a very good skill mix. And that is what is required for these outcomes, which are path-breaking outcomes for the larger good of mankind. That's the biggest. Number two, it speeds up the process. Number three, what we always complain about and find it as a ready excuse is financial constraints. So there's an assistance to use the finances, get the finances and funds to carry out your projects in collaborative projects. It's a matter of speed, it's a matter of improving financial supports. And also, when you collaborate, you are actually bridging the different specialities. When you bridge by good communication, it's a learning updates for every single team member. So it is learning at individual level. And of course, as we said, it is a learning to solve complex scientific problems. And that is how innovations are progressing. It also brings in the art of communication. It also infuses professionalism. And in large part, also, as expected, maybe more than expected or less than expected, the ethical conduct, the behavior, and the team spirit. And I don't have to say anything about how when we stand together, we stand to win. And that's the principle of collaboration. But what is required for a successful collaborating effort? One, there's willingness. Two, you are ready to explore. Three, you have designed your problem in detail. Four, you have the ability to communicate well. When I say well, I mean effective communication. Five, you have a very broad, enlightened outlook because it's not a cakewalk when you collaborate. There are going to be challenges when you collaborate. So you must have a very broad, enlightened outlook. Beyond this, to get the collaboration successful as designed, it has to be perfectly organized. The team is organized. Roles and responsibilities are explicitly defined. Terms are agreed upon, which may be financial terms, which may be with respect to the distribution, which may be patent sharing and rights related to that, which may be sharing of the outcomes and the benefits, if any. So there needs to be the work done of organizing it in a very excellent, so that misunderstandings are avoided, poor communication and lack of communication is avoided. The team members are able to give their best input, and there is no misgivings. Ethical conduct is more likely in such situations. So it's not that I just want to collaborate and I think I can just do it overnight. There's work, effort goes into it for richer outcomes. So this is about collaboration. I should be stopping here, but I must set some examples of how. Of course, India is one of the countries which is actively collaborating with almost 40 other countries. We also stand rated, maybe the early double digit, when about more than 20 countries are rated. And even when BRICS was rated, India has a decent place in the ranking. So which means we are not very much behind. And we are also partnering some of the global projects. Don't ask me the details of the project because I haven't memorized yet, but I know we have partnered as a country. So this is India's contribution to the collaborations which are spoken worldwide. We at Ramaiah, we have collaborated with our neighbor in the top University of Indian Institute of Sciences. We have collaborated to a certain extent with NCBS. We have industrial collaborations with Bosch, with Unilever, which is just entering, and of course with Larsen & Toubro, and which we plan to take it forward consistently with a long-term relationship. So we are also not lagging behind. Internationally, we have collaborated with University of Illinois, Chicago. Internationally, we have projects which are completed with Professor Savita and Professor Nandakumar as the Dewstow project. We also have collaborated with Sweden. Again, Nanda is in that Sweden project, where he titled the project as Technology Assisted Healthcare Delivery, domiciliary level for the elders in the rural sector. Very important project now that geriatrics has a central place in public health. So we are also not logging behind. We have Dr. Nainjit from here, the unit of GridFi, where he's collaborated with international partners and is currently working on a grant which he has received from the Almond Board US. And right? Yeah. So we are also moving into that, and my appeal to the young minds sitting here is that you have to foray into that. Now that you're aware of what collaboration is, what collaboration does, and why you should collaborate, I must say that you're all capable and confident that you will get further into collaborative activity. So I think at this point, I must wind up. And I'm not very happy to wind up because I really wanted to spend time with all of you. I always like to see young faces, although I always remember it's very difficult to address the young faces. Anyway, good luck to all of you. I appreciate your energies, and I really wish that you will do very well. And they give me the records that our students are doing. I was so happy and delighted to see the posters outside. It's a thing of pride for me. I in fact wanted the students from other medical colleges also to have a look at it and get inspired. Good luck to all of you, and have a good time through the research day. Good luck again. God bless you all.
Very inspiring. We'll now move on to the program. Can I request the dignitaries to please take seats?
Good meeting.
Sure.
Excuse me, but I have to leave because I have another meeting. Okay, wishing all of you all the best, very best. Thanks.
And now we invite our speaker, Pranav Arun, our 6th term student. Pranav is a high achiever. He has achieved first place in both the first and second years in our institute with over 80% on this exams, final exams. He is the elected coordinator of IMA Medical Student Network. He's selected as a local officer of human rights for Medical Students Association. He's also very active in the literary committee and the student council. He recently represented our institute at the International Medical Sciences Summer School Program on Global Health at the University of Groningen, Netherlands. He will now be talking to us about his experience as an exchange student and what he learned from it.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Tanuja ma'am, for those kind words. It's an honor to be speaking amongst the dignitaries today. Every new experience brings with it its own maturity and greater clarity of vision. I'm sure that this message holds special importance in the lives of medical students like me, who yearn to expand their horizons and experience new approaches to medicine and healthcare. An endeavor I'm sure many would have dreamt of is that of an international student exchange program. Next slide. I should have noticed that.
Drop those lights.
Gone again.
So, student exchange programs, in my opinion, are essential to a modern-day medical student because they not only provide exposure to international healthcare in all its forms, but also enables interactions with like-minded individuals from around the world. The opportunity to gain experience, as rightly said, connections, and incredible memories is fascinating, and I thus feel immensely fortunate and privileged to have been able to represent our institution in the International Medical Sciences Summer School on Global Health, a venture by the University of Groningen, the Netherlands, earlier this year. So, ranked one amongst the top 100 universities globally, the University of Groningen is a center of research that offers summer school programs of various disciplines spanning from June to September of the academic year. The programs are directed usually around the themes of international medicine, research and innovation, and medical humanities. And personally, myself as a mental health enthusiast with deep interest in reproductive health and socio-cultural influences on healthcare, I almost immediately knew that attending the summer school on global health would change my outlook towards medicine as I then saw it. So the process of application, which I've been asked to cover in brief, involved a CV, 2 letters expressing my intent and keenness for participation, an interview that expressed why I would be a good addition to the program, and several emails that completed the verification process. The institution itself selects around 5 students out of the total applications submitted based on their academic performance, co-curricular contributions, and most importantly, research experience. At the time of the application, I had published a paper on mental health and its disturbances during the pandemic and was actively involved in 4 other research projects. I was truly overjoyed, therefore, as I was selected by then Principal and Dean Dr. Medha Rao and even received a letter of recommendation from her for my participation in the program. I would also love to talk about my unusual experience with the visa application procedure, but I digress. Maybe if you have more time at the end. My experience in Groningen was life-changing and consists of memories that I will cherish forever. We were a group of 25 students and hailing from 15 different countries, and each of us had the same purpose. We wanted to learn as much as we could from each other. Through lectures and workshops on reproductive health, mental health, technology and innovation, infectious and non-communicable diseases, we were able to identify merits and demerits of our national systems and were enlightened on the opportunities for growth and development in them. There are 3 key ideas that I received from the program, which I felt were relevant to discuss today. The Missing Migrant Project, which was essentially a measure to humanize the situation of Mexican immigrants into the USA. There was actually an attempt to appeal to the masses to stop atrocities committed at the border by humanizing the situation of these immigrants. We were definitely appalled by the state of migrant care worldwide and used our personal experience to ideate changes. My question to any member of the audience is, will such measures work in India? Are we a society that places more empathy in a situation or a person if we were to become personalized with it? So if anyone wants to take up the question.
So a few of us, it might be true, but as a society, I think that they.
Very well said. That's actually how the situation is, and that's the conclusion that we came to as well. Most of our countries were like that. In sub-Saharan Africa, I move on. Grannies, as they're fondly called, have taken over park benches to conduct psychology sessions. Twice a week, anyone with any mental issue could come and spill their hearts, to these grannies. And funnily enough, local surveys insisted a betterment of mental health amongst these subjects surveyed in the regions with so-called friendship benches. Again, can such a situation even work in India? Anyone?
I don't think it's going to work in India because I think we are like a lot of prejudice behind our mental health in India still. So I feel like everyone's fear of the judgment that's going to come. So I don't think it'll be very peaceful. And also in India, I feel like people themselves don't realize what are issues they're going through. So it'd be hard for them to address it. So I think we're still a long way there.
Exactly, absolutely, very well said. And lastly, climate change has established itself as one of the reasons of disease causation, while replacing the term global health with planetary health, thus promote the need to study Earth and its inhabitants as a single ecosystem. Will that make an impact on the current generation to take climate change more seriously? Anyone? Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we should start focusing more on the environment as well. And that we should promote this brand of global doctors who can practice anywhere and help anyone.
Wonderful. So I would just like to say that these were the sort of collaborative discussions that we had over there. Each one of us were in equal mind and no one was felt lesser than by talking to these people. The language wasn't a barrier, their thoughts weren't a barrier, and these were the sort of discussions that were encouraged in the program. I really appreciate your inputs. Thank you. Moving on, the enthusiasm of the facilitators, the participants, and the organizers themselves to create channels of communication allowed me to break out of my shell and speak. I actively took part in the United Nations Simulation Program, Ministry of Health mock interviews, and case discussions, providing my outlook and justification on the Indian methodology of the practice of medicine, adding to spirited discussions and discourses. The course was also embellished by talks from keynote speakers from Uganda, Bangladesh, Greece, and the Netherlands, discussing imminent topics of concern, allowing us to empathize with the situation worldwide. To add to the internationality of the course, students were encouraged to present their country's perspective and functioning on particular topics, which could further build understanding and insight. I had envisioned an approach to my topic, mental health, that would cover the impact of issues, causative factors, government schemes, thus summarizing the Indian approach to mental health and well-being and psychiatric care on the whole. I also received the opportunity to present my paper and its findings on the disturbances in mental health during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was an honor for me to be recognized by the director of the program, Dr. Yap Kot, for my presentation, which he applauded for being one of the best that week. In the social activities that followed, which included a treasure hunt, cruise night, movie night, a sailing trip, I got to know the other students better. Exploring the natural beauty of the city of Groningen, the history and the significance of the architecture, it almost made us feel like characters in a movie. The people I've met and the bonds I've developed with them, I absolutely cherish, and I'm sure I've made friends for life. Even now, when someone asks me about this trip, I always say that the course was good, but it was the people I met who made it worthwhile. The week concluded with us welcoming each other to our countries, assured that we now knew people from every corner of the world. MS Ramaiah Medical College has a memorandum of understanding with the University of Groningen that ensures a 2,500 euro or a 2 lakh rupee grant covering travel, accommodation, and the course charges for the program to a student on the basis of their CV and contribution to the program. This institution doesn't fund the undertaking per se, but the receipt of this grant as a reimbursement at the end of the trip is extremely beneficial for students from India, especially seeking these opportunities. I'm so glad to share with you that this year I was the recipient of this grant, a feat I dedicate wholly to our International Relations Officer, Dr. Kuku, our institution, my summer school director, Dr. Yap Kot, and our chairperson, Ms. Evie, who made this possible. Every course offered by the University of Groningen is carefully designed to allow students to discover an international and holistic perspective on ongoing topics of discussion. As one of the youngest members there, I felt that listening to these participants and their domains of interest made me feel enthralled by the possibilities available under the umbrella of medical sciences. This also being my very first solo trip abroad, I felt a newfound love for the Dutch culture and hospitality and returned with the confidence to brave all challenges. It would be amiss, however, if I didn't mention that I now appreciated the Indian medical system a lot more. I would have appreciated a little bit more if I got attendance for my community medicine posting, but let's leave that aside. I absolutely cannot end this speech without extending my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Kuku Ayappa, the International Relations Officer, for being my pillar of strength throughout this period. None of this would have been possible without you, ma'am. Special thank you to my parents and my friends in the audience for all the support they've given me throughout this time. And needless to say, I extend gratitude to Dean Academics Dr. Medha Rao for trusting me and the confidence she placed in me, without which this experience would not have been possible. And I also would like to thank Dr. Shalini Noy, our principal and dean, the registrars Dr. Hemant and Pratap, and the entire Division of Patents and Research for offering me this opportunity to share my experience, and thus easing the path for students to apply and find themselves in value building programs like this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pranav. Please, I request Dr. Vidya to hand over a moment to small portion of application. Wonderful talk. Makes me want to go back 25 years and again join this same. I mean, I'm a UG from the same college. I want to join back and do medicine again. So now I call upon our next speaker, my own student. I'm very proud, Dr. Chris Diana Paez, who's a final year ophthalmology resident. Dr. Chris is a very good student. She has received a distinction in pathology during her UG in university, and she has been very actively involved in many research projects in the department. She's been part of a 100 project on ocular toxicity and ethambutol. She's also part of many clinical projects. Today, she's going to talk to us about our experience in mobile health application development, which we are doing as a collaboration with the Ramaiah Institute of Technology. She will share her experience and her learnings throughout this project. I welcome Dr. Chris.
Good afternoon, esteemed dignitaries, faculty, and friends. My name is Dr. Chris. I'm a final year resident in the Department of Ophthalmology. And today I will be sharing my experiences with you on how we developed a mobile application for the treatment, monitoring, and management of patients with uveitis. I would like to thank my professors and the Division of Research and Patents for giving me this opportunity to share my experiences with you. This application was developed in joint collaboration by the Department of Ophthalmology, Ramaiah Medical College, with the Ramaiah Institute of Technology. The development of this app was carried out under the expert guidance of our faculty, Dr. Tanuja, Dr. Bandari, along with the MSRIT faculty, Dr. Vijay Kumar and Sumanna. Dr. Deepthi, Soundarya, Disha, Sumit, and Rohan were my teammates involved in this project. We know that uveitis is a condition that needs to be treated effectively, and strictly adhering to medication is essential for its resolution. Patients may have to continuously use drops for even months at a stretch. The idea for this app began when we noticed that some patients diagnosed with uveitis had a lot of difficulty complying with medication. These patients returned to us with complications that could have been managed had treatment been maintained. We identified that the best possible solution to this problem was with the use of technology. There are an assortment of mobile health apps available in the market to cater to a wide range of requirements. There are apps available for exercise, for counting calories, monitoring vitals, etc. Mobile health apps can be used as a medium to provide patient education, as well as used in the management of health conditions. However, currently there are no apps on the market to address the requirements of patients with uveitis in particular. Utilizing mobile health technology to aid in the treatment, monitoring, and education of uveitis patients was the aim with which this project was developed. The inception of this project was in July 2021, and we worked on it subsequently for a period of 1 year. We looked at 2 channels for collecting information for our project with regard to uveitis. Firstly, patients with uveitis and ophthalmologists involved in the treatment of patients with uveitis. We gave questionnaires to patients with uveitis currently on treatment, and the questions focused on the level of understanding of uveitis, its treatment, physician-patient communication, and any barriers that they faced in administering medication. Interviewing patients face-to-face gave me the opportunity to see the challenges that they faced in dealing with their condition. Patients expressed in their own terms the factors that they deemed important in the management of their condition and how we as doctors could aid in the betterment of care. This experience brought with it an entirely new perspective because we as clinicians in an OPD setting do not usually take the time to ask patients how they're feeling and dealing with their diagnosis and treatment. We then conducted a focus group discussion involving faculty and residents from the Department of Ophthalmology in order to assess a caregiver's needs. This discussion focused on the difficulties faced by ophthalmologists in explaining the nature of the disease, need for investigations, follow-up, and cross-reference. The use of an interactive application to aid in better management was also explored. Being a moderator and a part of this focus group discussion broadened my understanding about this qualitative research method. It has taught me how to gather responses, assimilate information, and draw valuable conclusions from it. The next step we did was to brief the engineering team, giving them an idea about uveitis so that they may have a better understanding of the task at hand. This encounter showed me perspectives from a non-medical point of view, as we are so used to medical terminology when communicating with our peers in our fraternity. It made me realize the importance of communicating effectively to deliver clear expectations and objectives for my team and also receive helpful feedback in turn. We then prepared a layout of our ideas for the patient end of the app and discussed it with our peers on the engineering team. Here, I was exposed to the intricacies of app development, where we designed every button, every icon, and assigned a function to each, and also navigated within the app, which allowed me to be thoroughly creative. The engineering team in turn put across the wireframes, which were essentially a prototype of the whole mobile application, which showcased content allocation and functionality. They showed the login page, they showed the patient landing page, there was the information page about patients with uveitis. There was a progress page which showed the patients could put in their progress with regard to pain or any symptoms that they experienced, which was in the form of a graph, and the prescription which we would give to them. The front end basically consisted of everything that the user sees when interacting with the app, and the back end is that which was invisible to the user and responsible for storing and processing of information. So the team then went and developed the front end, and initially I was quite lost with the terminology that they used. Familiarizing myself with the terminology and descriptions which were used frequently also facilitated my learning process. Information for the doctor's end was provided, and the same process was employed in the development of a doctor's webpage and an admin webpage. So here we have the doctor's webpage where the doctor can input any symptoms that they perceive that the patient had or signs. So firstly for the right eye and the left eye, they had to put in the symptoms referred to acute or if it was recurrent. And this was the page where the doctors could maintain the patient records and see the upcoming appointments which they had. And this was also a page where the history could be input with regard to uveitis. This was the admin panel which the engineering team developed, which the people could log in with the user ID and password, and also contain the doctor details and staff. Developing the FAQ section, of course, was an essential part of this project, and I learned to gather information from patient interviews to write about what the patient was looking for in simple terms. We took pictures, short videos for patient education, and I learned to prepare a patient information booklet to convey the correct techniques of instilling drops. This was a patient information booklet that we prepared, how to open a eye drop bottle and how to administer medication. This journey has been long and laborious, from providing each and every detail with regard to the look, functioning, and information in every page and having it integrated into the app. It was challenging and took many meetings to review each page and breathe on it multiple times. But the hours of hard work that we put into this has definitely paid off. I have learned valuable lessons in teamwork, and the team works so well because we learn to communicate clearly with each other. We also learn to understand our roles in the team and learn to piece them together to have the output we desired. During our meeting sessions, I was given a glimpse of how every member of the team worked and also their knowledge and skill. This allowed me to learn from each of my team members and at the same time fostered high regard and amity amongst us. Being a part of this journey has been a creative and enjoyable, fulfilling experience. I would like to once again thank my professors and teammates for allowing me to be a part of this project and making this experience enriching and a great learning opportunity. Thank you.
Dr. Divya, to give a to this. Dr. Chris has told us the whole cycle, research cycle, how we go about doing research. And there'll always be challenges, but how we overcome and take the positives out of each situation is what we have to learn from this. Next, I would move on to the next talk. I would like to call upon Dr. Sundar, Associate Professor of Physiotherapy, to talk to us about the importance of collaboration in academics. Dr. Sundar has completed his PhD from Manipal University. He has multiple international publications with a H index of 11 and ICANN index of 11. Yes. He is the principal and co-investigator in many projects, many funded projects, and the funding being from states, universities, ICMR, and international societies, and also as a guide for many student-funded projects. He has worked in various institutes across India and will talk to us about the importance of collaboration in academics.
A very good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to the DRP team, Dr. Kumar, Dr. Ramaiah, Dr. Vidya, Dr. Radhay for arranging this program and for the opportunity for us to speak on collaborative work that we have done. It's very apt that I'm speaking about research collaborations with academic institutions on this day, which was actually Veda was the guest of honor. So it's actually under her tutelage that a lot of activities that we have done has actually evolved. And she's been a backbone for the lot of work that we have done. She's been a great pillar of strength. I wish she was here to listen to the progress that we have made, but I'm sure I'll be able to communicate with her beyond this aspect. So thank you, ma'am, for all the support that you've given us in developing what we have done. I've tried keeping it very simple. The idea is to not lecture on how collaboration works. We're looking at giving our experiences of how we have done things and what has worked for us and what are the key aspects that has done. So this is given a, we've got two components. One is essential for research collaboration, the way we have seen it rather than from any standard lecture, and a few examples from our experiences, and we'll try to pitch in the dots and see how these things fell in place and what actually worked in our favor. That's what I'm going to run through in the next 7 minutes or so. What is actually set in for us over here is these are three components that work quite well for us. I came into Ramaiah in 2015, about 7.5 years ago. So when I chose Ramaiah to continue my professional career after my PhD, I was looking for an organization that is well established, that has a lot of resources, when I say resources, we're looking at infrastructure as well as human resources. So I did do my groundwork. I knew that we have a team that is excellent, not just in physiotherapy, across the medical college. There's also a culture of interdisciplinary work. That's the groundwork I did. So we do have excellent infrastructure. And of course, we have a very team members with great expertise. As like Dr. Theresa spoke about, her students spoke about development of an app. So there is a great opportunity within our campus to collaborate and network. So that's already there, and that's where the networking comes in. So I basically tried working around these three factors. What we had come out with a set of expertise. We had a good infrastructure and facilities that is to facilitate what we needed to bring in with external organization is networking. So this story, what I'm going to share, actually the 4 collaborations that I'm speaking is story of its own, which actually evolved over a period of time. I'll try to give a few snippets of how it happened and what are the outcomes that we've actually got from that. The first one, what I speak about is a collaborative research project that we delivered with Center for Chronic Disease Control. It's actually a large organization, to be aware of it. Dr. Prabhakaran and Dr. Srinath Reddy, they're actually stalwarts in chronic disease prevention in our country. When I was doing my PhD, I happened to visit CCDC in Delhi in 2012 for making a small presentation of an idea that I had. Then I also had a chance to meet Dr. Prabhakaran when I went to a conference, AHA conference in 2013. And then our PhD got over, I came to Ramaiah. At that point in time, I did know through one of our good friends, Abraham Manipal, that CCDC had launched a large yoga-based trial, effectiveness of yoga-based cardiac rehabilitation, a multi-centric randomized controlled trial. This is actually the largest trial of yoga-based interventions for cardiac rehabilitation. They actually recruited over 4,000 participants. It's actually the largest study in the world in this particular study. So they were looking for partners to expand. They were looking for partners. When I came into Ramaiah, my colleague Veena was actually developing the cardiac rehab facility. We developed a good network with our cardiology OPD. So they were putting a system in place. We had a wonderful rehab facility. And the person who I knew was connected us with Dr. Prabhakaran for this particular project. So actually in 2017, we signed a MOU with them. Dr. Ritu was here a while ago, was very supportive in connecting the place because it was a large multi-centric trial with 24 centers in the country. I had never done a large trial, part of a large trial before. So she helped us a lot. So I reiterate that we have a team that actually has multiple strengths. So we just had to get people together. So the previous contacts with Dr. Prabhakaran and his team, other contacts that we had, actually helped us to bring it. So what really worked over here is that as part of our regular clinical services, we've been delivering cardiac rehab, we have wonderful infrastructure for it. And we just tried connecting our infrastructure and our competencies and expertise with what is needed in the market. And CCDC was looking for a partner. We tried linking that together and we came on board with it. It was supposed to be a 2-year program, but then we had an extension. So we did a follow-up of the patients who we recruited. And the results are quite interesting. What is also opened up for us, and Dr. Prabhakaran's team launched a World Hypertension Month. They actually wrote to us, asked us to be a part of it. So we participate in a large drive by International Society of Hypertension to look at hypertension measurements across the campuses. We, in fact, as a part of an awareness program, we actually reached out about 2,000 participants within our campus in 2017 for running out of this. So this also led to further collaboration for our cardiology department, right? Dr. Prabhakaran wrote to our cardiologist, Dr. Ramaiah, for a trial on hypertension. So once we start, it sort of helps us to build on and then take it forward. So this was one example where our expertise matched with what is needed in the market. The next thing what I touch upon is from Glasgow Caledonian University, UK, Scotland. We do not have a formal MOU with them. There's something called the Sedentary Behavior Research Network. I have my interest in physical activity and health promotion. So I joined the Sedentary Behavior Research Network through a common contact and then was participating in some of these activities. I realized that the person who started this Sedentary Behavior Research Network was actually based at Glasgow Caledonian University. And see how it actually evolves. My undergrad friend with whom I started my research as an intern in CMC Vellore was actually working in Glasgow Caledonian University. So we reached out, we had our general interactions. And then as an outcome of that interactions, they actually gave us a few active pal accelerometers. I had a strong research interest towards physical activity monitoring. So they actually loaned us a few accelerometers to try it out to see if you could actually use that accelerometers to build some data and see if you could make something out of that. That actually was quite useful. These accelerometers actually helped us to done about a few small micro projects. It gave us an opportunity to monitor physical activity profile in populations. It also led us to have 2 grants from Rajiv Gandhi University. One of the student grant was on actually validating the Google Fit app that we use. We all use our step counters using our Google Fit app. So we wanted to validate whether the data that we get from Google Fit app actually measures what is the reality of a person's mobility. So we did a small validation as part of a undergrad student project. We also use these activity trackers to monitor physical activity levels in children with cerebral palsy. One of our faculty actually got a research grant from Rajiv Gandhi University. Again, what happened over here? We had the interest, we had the support within our system. But of course, what really worked over there, that I had a good friend from undergrad who connected within the team. It also helped us to apply for a research grant, for an MRC research grant on diabetes and physical activity interventions. We did not succeed in getting the grant, but it helped us to build a network that we're actually working on to progress further. The third thing that I'm highlighting is from my alma mater. I graduated from CMC Vellore. I left CMC Vellore in 2003, almost 19 years, but the roots are still there. So how does this route work is that there's a bioengineering department, Dr. Shiva was there, who joined as a professor over there. He had developed a robotic arm called as Pluto with IIT Chennai. They were looking for a research scholar. So I got to know that they were looking for a research scholar through our alumni network. I shared it with our alumni. One of our postgraduate students from Ramaiah was interested. She thought this is exciting. So she went and did the interview. She got a job over there as a research scholar. And then she was working in this particular project. She's the person who's actually standing over there with that suitcase over there. So when she joined the project, she felt like, yeah, we have a wonderful neuro-rehab facility in Ramaiah. Can't we actually take this project to Ramaiah? So we had an interaction with them. So they came on 8th of April to give us a demo of the product with our colleague Ramesh and Partha, who actually takes care of the neuro rehab facility. We actually have one of the largest neuro rehab facilities in our country. I'm not exaggerating in terms of space, in terms of infrastructure. We have an excellent neuro rehab facility. So what the team from Vellore was looking forward is that they developed a robotic device to train hand functions in people with stroke. We rehabilitate many people with stroke. So this is a collaboration which we are building on. We've got a draft MOU. We're working on that. I'm sure this will actually lead us to do many more things. And once our rehab team is also exposed to their working, probably we will be able to build a network on their associations. The last component that I'm going to touch upon is probably the crux of what I'm eagerly looking forward to for the future as well. We actually got into a multi-centric research collaborative project with University of Derby, University of Illinois, Sheffield Hallam University, King's College London. This came through the time of COVID. Everybody was busy with COVID, but there's one gentleman, Ross Arena from UIC Chicago. He's one of the guys whom I look up to within our professional communities. If you actually look at his citation index, his H index is 101. His total citation count is 68,904. One of the highly published physical therapists. He doesn't just work as a physical therapist, but he's actually an exercise scientist. We have reached out to him for various of our other labs that we are actually building on. So that's the guy whom I've always wanted to collaborate. So when COVID struck, he thought it's a good opportunity to start a network called as Healthy Living for Pandemic Protection. So I joined that network. The essence of this network was that we've all gone through a lot of challenging times, but COVID also highlighted the importance of healthy living. That's been defined. What is healthy living is quite defined. So he actually brought on a whole lot of international people of repute, more than 200 highly successful researchers across the globe. They came in as part of a network. They applied for a grant, and then they got a grant to actually do what I actually put up in the beginning, profiling the determinants of recovery. There's one gentleman, Dr. Mark Fagay from University of Derby, was part of the network. We connected with him through a common friend, Abraham in Manipal University. And then we spoke about the infrastructure that we have. What you see over there is actually our lab in our rehab facility. It's a pretty high profile lab, and I always acknowledge the vision of our former president, Dr. Naresh Shetty, and Professor Savita, who had the wisdom to see what this kind of an infrastructure can do to our campus. The next slides I'll address what this can actually do to us going forward. So it is the presence of this lab in our campus helped us to get this particular collaborative project. So what is actually happening as part of this collaborative project is that they've connected with the best universities researching on exercise functions in COVID. And then we're also connected to more than 200 odd excellent researchers across the globe. I'm actually having once in 6 weeks meeting with Ross Arena and team on a regular basis. So they know us quite well. They know what we're contributing. So what I'm expecting this to do is that this Healthy Living for Pandemic Event Protection is a network that is developed in 2020 July. Within 2 years, As a network, they have more than 103 publications with collaborative work that is happening. So we are also going to be part of the network that is developing, so that is what is happening. Beyond this, what is my wish is actually taking forward from yesterday's talk about this. Exercise is an intervention that we normally is an under-prescribed intervention per se. Multiple studies have highlighted the importance of exercise. A good study that actually said that a 10-minute exercise bout actually has an impact on 9,000 odd molecules. If we speak about precision medicine and then we look at the role of exercise science in way it can affect our body, those humongous. And the network that we are developing with the HL5 system has the what do you call competencies for us to actually jumpstart and then go in that direction. Some of the things, this is the lab, actually one of our patients with cancer getting into an exercise program during chemotherapy. So we have an opportunity to some of the videos of what we've done with our gas analysis systems that we run. So we have a lab that can actually train people. We have a system that can actually tell us exactly what are the exercise capacities. Is there a cardiac limitation, is there a respiratory limitation, or is there a peripheral limitation? And then we can probably do a lot more. And then we have a network. So the road ahead for us is actually to see that if you can use this infrastructure and the collaboration that we are building up, we can actually be one of the best centers for exercise testing and training in our country. So we have the infrastructure, we have the facilities. So we just have to come together and build on the network that we are working towards. If you actually observe through this, everywhere there is some point of contact. But we all meet thousands of people across our life and everyday events. We just have to be conscious and aware about what our strengths are and who can we connect with, and then we can take it forward. Thank you so much.
That was a wonderful talk. I request Dr. Kalita Raman to hand over a moment to token of appreciation from the other team. Very well said. I mean, the importance of collaboration. If you start collaborating, you need to take the first step and then I now invite Dr. Ramaiah Tegur, Associate Professor of Physiotherapy Department. Sir does not require any special introduction. Everybody in the campus knows that if there's somebody who's doing some innovation with devices, patients, it has to be Ramaiah sir. So I invite him to talk to us about the importance of industry collaboration and how to go about it.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, first of all, for sitting patiently. You know, we're going to be late now. So, and I always get this when I'm in a position that people start smelling coffee outside and starting my slides. I'm also a little envious of the rest people back to me for that. But please bear with us. I don't take too much time. I have just 4 slides. Finish quickly. So before I start, a small caveat. My actual experience with industry is reasonably limited, and therefore only 4 slides. But I'll be happy to share whatever little that I have encountered over the last couple of so years, trying to come to a certain level of understanding of how the whole thing functions. Now, first thing is, why should we be discussing something like that during research that we have to bring in industry? This is a very a point that has been sorely missed across, because we people in academics and I know there are students here, we tend to focus very clearly on the academics and research, and tend to miss out that a lot of things that happen should actually get out there, and that is when the actual impact starts to happen. So that's one of the key points that I'd like to focus on. The second thing I'd like to clarify before I start once again is that we can grossly divide any industry within the concept of healthcare and so I will.
Mic switch off.
Check 1 to 3. I always want to do that. So, okay, so essentially industry for us is divided into two. One is the pharmaceuticals and the other one is the device. The pharmaceutical industry, when we try to connect basic research to pharmaceuticals, it's an extraordinarily convoluted process. And I may not be very qualified now to have the time to discuss very convoluted thing like that. The second one is this medical devices industry. It's not as convoluted yet at the moment, but there's still quite a bit of scope for innovation there as well as acceptance. And that's the area that I would like to focus on for today. So before we go to all that, let's try and answer this question as to why do we need to connect what we have to what the industries have, right? So what do we actually have that the industries want and what does the industry have that we want? So let's take a look at the first one as to what do we have? You know, we are a medical college, assorted healthcare institutions and assorted engineering institutions. So we must have some strengths that we would want to leverage, we should leverage. So we have ideas, right? So we have a large group of people and we have lots of ideas. And these ideas come from the fact that we have a very unique point of view, right? So as clinicians, as people working with patients, as a public facing person, we actually understand what the person wants, what the patient wants, and so on and so forth. So we have this very unique viewpoint, and I'm really going to emphasize this unique viewpoint because this comes because you are in that particular vantage position that you are with the patient, and you have the experience with the patient that somebody who's not a part of the system will have. So we have that vantage point. We have plenty of ideas because we have some fantastic people who are our students, and that's another point of focus. We didn't forget as teachers, since we start seeing a lot of people as a number of years progress. Some of our students are really good at this, very brilliant, right? And they have generally excelled in their field from these professions. So we have these students with us who are very bright. A lot of us are extremely creative, but the daily requirement of our activity somehow tends to suppress all that creativity in class, but we do have it. And as with any other profession, whenever you want to get into your clinic, your OT, or any other place, you would love to have the best tools that are available to you. Go in and do the best we can, right? So we have a few things and we need a few things, right? So now to do that, what does the industry give you, right? It tries to complement us in some way. They have plenty of manpower because you are a small group of people. They are large. They have the infrastructure to do what you have ideated about, right? So you may want an electron microscope to run a show which doesn't have it here, but these guys have it, right? They have the ability to scale things. You have this really nice thing that you have done, right? And one prototype costs 10,000, but to make it 1,000, it grows. So you have this requirement to scale these guys can scale. You cannot sit and do 1,000 of them. You have done. They have the ability to market, right? So anybody who has any idea knows that itch of an idea is fulfilled only when you tell it to somebody. So many people know that is when the idea takes fruition. Otherwise, it's useless. Right? So these guys have that. And of course, they have the money that hopefully they are willing to share for all that effort, right? And hopefully it's really right. But what is important that we tend to find, right? This is required for us. All right. The next important thing is how do we reach there? And we have to, generally, this is a very quick process. Actually, you'll see that the cards are put on top of each other. After that, it's goes backward. So the first step is obviously ideation. So it means that your best idea, your best theory, your best hypothesis, you pick it up. Then you have a concept there. The concept is a slightly more refined process, and you try to say, how does this stuff work? What exactly is it that and where should it be working? I wish I could go to a little deeper into examples, but I think it will take a lot more time than what I think about it. There's proof of concept. So as an ideator, as an inventor, the onus is on us to say that this actually works. It's not a castle in the air, right? And the next is to prototype, right? And you have to realize whatever it is, you have to be able to realize it in practice. So if there's an idea of an app, the prototype is a wireframe that says, see, this is what happens when I click stuff happens. And when this happens, it actually works. That's your gross prototype. And then, of course, there is the next step, which is called an industrial prototype. Now, I'm not really very, I'm given to understand there are more than one way of thinking about a prototype, but I don't think I'm that qualified. There are multiple types of it. The end result of all these prototypes is what we call an industrial one, which means this is what you go to the industry for or industry with. Here is a device that does whatever I claim it to do. Please take it to the masses, right? So that's your device. And once the device becomes a device, then it is a real industrial device. And from here onwards, if it's an engineering tool, you end the process of the journey here. But if it's a medical device, everything starts from here. Like, yesterday, Dr. Vijay, my student, started the process of efficacy, in vitro, in vivo, validation, so on and so forth. And the whole process continues from that point onwards, right? But if you've reached here, then the rest of the process really is reasonably easy, right? So for us sitting in a medical college, this is the hard part. But if you ask an engineer or an industry person, this would be the easy part, and the rest of them would be difficult because they have to reach out to you to get the validations, findings, and so on. Right? So being on the other side of the system, for us, this is the hard part. So this is the basic part, right? So after this, one of the common things that would come to mind is, so why would you go to them and why would they come to you? What are they thinking? So you have this really great idea that you've done something with, regardless of what it is, right? And if I were to take it to an industry, what are they thinking? What should I bring to the table, right? So from my little experience, not a lot, and incidentally, just before coming in, I was sitting with one industry person to have a discussion on it. I'm trying to distill all that thoughts into some 3-4 sentences. So the first one is they're thinking about outcomes. You're thinking about an idea, you're thinking about an outcomes, right? So they're saying that here is something that will really improve a patient's health. And they are thinking, how many patients are you trying to improve for? Right? So they're looking at outcomes. As inventors, you're looking at the idea. Right? Second, he wants to know whether I can do one of this or is there a need for 1,000 or 1,000,000 of that? Right? So he is more focused towards scale and proportion, right? He's going to ask, he's thinking, how saleable is this, right? Remember, industry is about economics. So he will say, ask you, so how much costs does it take to make? Where are the raw materials made? If every patient needs one electron microscope, it's not going to happen. Right? This isn't going to work. So that's what the industry is thinking, right? And of course, he's there to make money, first and foremost. So he's going to ask you, so how much will I make? What will be the money, right? So these are the 4 common things that I have encountered when people talk of industry experiences. So these are the basic salient points that I thought we should bring about for us to understand what exactly happens when we go there. So I had a very little experience in this. So I'd like to highlight a couple here. So the first one, we call it a functional electrical stimulator. This is a stimulator that stimulates muscles, but it stimulates the muscles when the person is doing the function, walk and sit and stand, so on and so forth. So we ideated that process about 2 years ago or so, and kind of that. It has a computer of sorts, and it has a couple of sensors, and they try to determine what the person wants to do. It picks up an intent and then tries to stimulate. We hope it will impact patients of stroke, Parkinson's, or spinal cord injury, such. So this device is reasonably near to market than any of the other ways that we have tried. So the second one is something that came out of very early COVID. Everybody started making these low-cost simulators. We should also try doing one of those inside. Turned out to be not a very great thing, but apparently, from what I hear, it wasn't a good thing for that people. But if somebody wanted to know what a proof of concept looks like, and that's what the proof of concept ventilator looks like. Does it look like a ventilator at all? Perhaps. But that's because it was designed with accessibility in mind and not really patient care. We just wanted to ensure that whatever we wanted to touch and feel and feel is available to us during that time. And therefore, this is a gross concept. And a more defined one would have come into a much smaller. So when we discuss industry experiences, the majority of the things, when we showed proof of concept, a lot of industries at that point of time actually came and said, can we get this in front as yes, right? But we refuse, saying that there aren't enough validation studies to actually get it into the market, and we start the process at that time. And it will go to market. But the idea apparently is sound enough. On the other hand, the functional stimulator is much more near to the market. And a majority of the industry who have seen this device would be asking us as to how many can we do, how much, what kind of patients, how much does it change, what kind of patients can we put it, how much inputs do you need from a doctor to do this, how versatile is this, and so on and so forth. Some of these questions are reasonably new to me, and we are not going to answer very clearly, but it does give us a lot of ideas as to what the industry wants. So essentially, the industry wants these 5 things that I just last time. So we are in the process of trying to answer a few of these. I guess that's kind of about what I have to say. So thank you for the patient listening. I hope I take my time.
Thank you so much. I don't have much industry experience, but even to come out with one device requires a lot of effort, years of work. Thank you so much for successfully telling us. I would request Dr. Sangeeta Ramaiah to give us more moment to Dr. Ramesh. So all the time in the industry academic collaboration, we have heard the academy side's view of what it is for industry academic collaboration. But we want to hear what the industry thinks about us and how it is easy or difficult, how challenging they find to interact with us. I would like to invite Mr. Muralidhar Hosalli. I've already introduced him. He's at present the global head for healthcare and at L&T Technology Services. His passion is to develop products and services that would have maximum impact on the people. He'll be talking to us about technologies and healthcare.
Good afternoon. Can you able to hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Probably, I know, first of all, I would like to thank, Dr. Medha Rao, Dr. Shamini, and Dr. Nandakumar by inviting us to spend time with you people, especially the doctors. Probably the first time, I am spending like this in my lifetime. Because I never probably had interacted with some doctors in hospitals, but never, directly talking to the doctors like this. Probably I was thinking, should I talk? And I also saw a couple of examples. One was on the M-Health and stuff like that. Probably they're talking about the white frames, they're talking about how they did collaboratively, what to be done, and the mental health case. So many things it is being done. Anyway, so it's a good thing. So the reason for coming here and wanted to talk about something here is that I was here in the industry side and I represent L&T Technology Services. I'm not sure how many of you are aware that there was a company called L&T Medical. Anyone aware here? No, right? So L&T Medical was a medical devices original equipment manufacturer earlier in India's subcontinent. It was there about 20 to 25 years back. It used to manufacture ultrasound, patient monitoring systems, as well as electrosurgical devices. And selling the products is not easy for an Indian vendor. And hence they shelved it off and sold it to another company, you must have heard, Scandrick, about 12 years back. We completely moved into an engineering services provider. Is it possible to get that? Yeah, that's easier. So the reason I'm talking about is that there are a lot of examples. I was talking about Mr. Dr. Ramesh earlier in the ventilator. Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, anyway, I will talk about a lot of things. Probably 45 minutes is too small for me to explain. And just to give a glimpse of what our company, who we are and why we are, what we are, and what is my role and my team's role. We are an engineering services company working for medical OEMs across the globe. And typically, most of the innovations happening from US even today. Most of the innovation from US, that is the reason that we get our revenue probably 100%, 99% from outside India. Out of that, 94 to 95% from United States remaining 4% from Europe, and couple of percentage from Japan. And that is the reason that we also thought why it is like this. We were brainstorming internally among ourselves. We work with the best of the best OEMs in the world. In fact, we work with 10 of the top 10 medtech customers, medtech OEMs in the world. Probably you must have heard of these companies. I will talk about that. And what we do for them is that we develop the complete product for them, either as a part or as a whole. And in that segment, if you really look at, so we have helped our customer to launch more than 450 products worldwide. And we also see about 50 digital health applications. And we work with top 10, as I said earlier. We also work with the top 23 or the top 30 medtech companies. We have more than 60 plus patents, and that's our gene. And in fact, we last year alone, we have done close to about 20 patents. And that is what our the focus should be. And we work with in the area of what has been given in the right-hand side. We work on diagnostics. We work on therapeutic instruments. We work on musculoskeletal and surgical instruments, as well as we also work on the in vitro diagnostics and life sciences. Similarly, having said that, we also work with the providers again in the digital space, because all these OEMs in turn directly work with the hospitals. So then also the combination of devices in, from the pharma segment. So in order to give that, we got quite a few awards and awards, not only from India, even from US. And some of these I will explain. Just to give a glance, we are working with almost all the customers probably you're aware of. Unfortunately, there is not much of inventions happening. As you probably know, 85% of the medical devices in India are being imported. Very, very sorry figure to say that. It is not that India doesn't have a technology. It is definitely there. But however, there is no collaboration. We are talking about a collaboration and collaboration. Unfortunately, our collaboration is extremely limited. We don't collaborate. We don't have mindset of collaboration in my view. And of late, I have seen the last few years, there is a winds of change. Whether you go to education institutes, whether you go to hospitals or companies like us, we want to collaborate and bring. Of course, digital is one which is also helping us to get connected. Like English helped to get out of the Britishers from India. Similarly, digital is a way helping to get connected. But as you see, we work with Philips, we work with GE, we work with Siemens, we work with Medtronic. And you name it, we have like that. And at the same time, not only working, I think in India, I'm not sure how many of you are aware of the regulatory compliances. That is, if anything goes bad, the company has to be shut off. I'm not sure you are all doctors, and probably 2 + 2 is equal to 4. You may not agree, but that is a reality. Many companies have opened up the shop, and easy to say, even for technologists like me to say that for a device, the ventilator was shown earlier. A lot of people will say we design ventilator, it's not so easy. Many people have failed operating the ventilators also. So in that, getting to the FDA, and for example, let me give another example. It is in the public. The same ventilators, Philips is kind of written off a $1 billion. That is size of L&T Technology Services. So that is why the things are so complex. The regulatory compliance in United States is extremely high. Added to that now, because of the European regulation I'm sure that you must have heard EUMDR. That is earlier it used to be a guideline, now it's a directive. Handling that is much more difficult. So that is the reason that complying to that and developing such devices is extremely challenging and extremely difficult. And India has still a long way to go on those lines. So this is a perspective of where we are. And so where the healthcare industry is, as you all know, probably healthcare industry is the only, probably one of the industries which is recession proof. Probably everyone is talking about today, recession is coming and coming and coming. And in fact, this is the only industry is agnostic, generally agnostic to that. But unfortunately, because of various other reasons, non-availability of the components and non-availability of the inert gases for the capital instruments like CDMR, these kind of things, there is a acute shortage of things, and it is also getting hit. Otherwise, it is one of the things, medtech, pharma, and provider, each one of them respectively growing at a rate of 5.4%, 6%, and 8%. Cumulative aggregate growth rate. This is the highest growth rate. So why we are doing like this? What are the key transformational trends? Why it is happening? As you probably know, there are challenges. You know that aging population across the world. There are some countries which have the much more. But then you must have seen the COVID also, how the entire globe went through. And even in India, for example, it's a significantly, though the younger population, if you see the volume, the old age population is extremely high. And the chronic and lifestyle diseases. This is another big problem, more than communicable diseases. The other diseases are extremely high because of the lifestyle, and definitely the shortage of skilled resources in every industry. So, and that is the reason that there's also from the competition is also a cutthroat with the OEMs. And new age players, because of digital, the entry barrier for big companies is extremely low. Earlier, just to give a perspective of the big companies had a monopoly of their devices. For example, Medtronic had their own defibrillator pacemakers and these kind of things. Similarly, among these Siemens, as well as GE and Philips, they have their own diagnostic equipment. Unfortunately, they are not able to make money. None of the diabetes care equipment makers, they are not able to make money. That is the reason they are trying to find a way how to generate more business. And because of that, digital has played a significant role to collect the data, how we can able to get the data, codify, get the right insight and meaningful information so that they can give back whatever they get. So that it improve the patient centricity and stuff like that. Because of that, even Amazon, Google, Apple, they are coming, including the Apple Watch or Galaxy and stuff like that. There's another thing. So that is margin is squeezing. And in US, as you probably know that after the Obamacare, if patient gets readmitted and hospital has to take care of it. And no one is left behind, whether they have insurance or not is another problem. These kind of problems we don't see in India, but we have a different set of problems. So, but US typically works on a capitalistic way, and without the money, nothing works. So that way, these are the challenges we have. And finally, this aim is to, how we can preventive and personalized care that is based on the patient outcomes. That's the most important things. And what are the focus areas? At the end of the day, we need to have smart devices and solutions, and compliance in the healthcare segment is cannot be compromised at all. And as you are the doctors, you are the best to explain personalization and better outcomes. It is moving to, instead of a healthcare, health is what newly talked about. Once you have a healthcare, it becomes more reactive. Health is proactive. So that should not even allow to, go to next level. So then finally, there is a convergence of technologies, and consumerism is another big thing which is happening. Clinical part of the data for any person is only about 20 to 25%. Non-consumer, the non-clinical ecosystem contributes to about 70 to 75%. There's a huge amount of data. What a lot of work is going on today is what kind of effective correlation that can be developed using the complete ecosystem rather than only doing the clinical part of it. And there is huge work which is going on. So there are some certain interesting facts. Probably I will not touch upon all the points. But for example, telehealth. Telehealth is nothing new at all. It was there for the last 40 years, 45 years. But it became very evident because of corona virus, which probably not more than 10 grams able to move the world for a couple of years. So, and that has taken a center stage, and digitization and automation of the health process. We are mostly talking about the Western world, but in India still a lot many things to happen. And only 63% of the hospitals use software as a service. And rest of it is still in a manual process. Value-based healthcare is another thing. Again, people say they are, already for a best outcome. They're actually using it to prepare for the same with 81%, including the curative therapies of 16%. In reality, it's only about 38%. And adoption of robots that is coming very prominently, it is increasing. And the next one is on the internet as a medical device. So just in order to give 4 A's for the patient outcomes, availability, accessibility, affordability, and the last one is awareness of the quality healthcare. The entire ecosystem is being built. And the outermost layer talks about some of the new technologies. If you take from the health, there is nothing but a mobility that is being used very effectively today, that is being used for multi things. For example, how to improve the mental health, and play some games that will help them using the augmented reality and virtual reality. A lot of work is going on the 5G connected devices, and it could be a couple of examples I will talk about. And we have the EMR and EHR, which used to be in the in-brain, that is also moving to the cloud. And robotics is becoming for reproductive surgeries and stuff like that. So these are the areas in which a lot of work is going on. I will see this is the technology spring. This is how going forward for the 5 years, 10 years, and 15 years, what kind of thing that will come up in our in the world. So it starts from first is smart inhalers. It's already there. Smart inhalers to miniature retinal scanners, AI for diagnostics. Next one will be on the DNA robots, and third will be then the thread-based diagnostic devices. And similarly, in the next 15 years, these are the areas in which you will see the more number of devices is going to come. So these are the use cases. I will not touch upon. Probably I will talk about what is it we are doing in our organization. That is probably more interest to you. Just to give a couple of examples of as an organization in terms of technology space we do. One is the handheld point of care device. I'm not sure it is being used in Ramaiah. It got released in 2021 Thanksgiving, around same time frame of about 1.5 years back, to one of the OEM in US. It's completely developed by our company. And instead of a tabletop or this is being used, the doctors, they can use it, a radiologist can use the handheld, except the transducer, everything was designed and developed by us. It has a 300 megabits per second to get the frames, so that whatever the scan that could be on the iPhone, which has the highest clarity, And only two companies, one is Butterfly, another is what we gave it to another company. They had, now probably other companies are also coming out with it. So this is one big work we did it. Second one on the sepsis detection, it is our own work, what we are doing along with IIT Madras. This is using a microfluidics architecture. That is to say that instead of having a big capital equipment, this is a point of care device. And also, as we know that sepsis is going to risk once somebody catches that, the risk of the infection getting this was extremely high. In order to do that, we are working along with them to come out with a point of care device. This is already available, and we need to do the clinical evaluation now. That is ready, and the entire from end to end developed by L&T Technology Services. The third one, I'll talk about a hematology analyzer. Whole of India, even today, there is only one company, Agape, you must have heard, I'm not sure how many of you. There is only company who has indigenously developed. See, we start finding the complete blood counter. That is completely designed 100% from L&T Technology Services, including the crystal. Typically, almost all the hospitals in India, they import either from Roche, Mindray, or from Chinese vendors, then Beckman counter like that. In fact, it took a lot of time, including finding a right crystal and developing the entire product, starting from identifying the reagents to complete product and stuff like that. In fact, that was a time in 2020 in which Modi government wanted to stop the import from China. They did that entire product got released. Now they don't have manpower to manufacture the things, but they want at least 130 systems per month like that. It uses a less amount of reagents, a less amount of blood to get the CBC. Similarly, we are also working on a couple of other products. Another still work in progress on point of care device for electrolytes diagnostics. So basically, to get electrolytes here. So next one is a robotic. The robotic thing again, it is the one of the doctors with whom urologists we work very closely. His intention was how we can help Indian surgeons to get used or the productivity to improve their productivity. That is to say that, as you probably know, the only company or which is very known is intuitive surgery. That is by using the Da Vinci robots. The other guys like Medtronic, Stryker, J&J, they are trying, but still long way to go for them to compete with intuitive. So in order to do the intuitive, one system would cost probably about 15 to 20 crores. But getting right onto the system, it takes a lot of time. In order to do the doctor, the urologist, for one of the top 10 in India, he was saying that it would take about 8 hours from the critical surgery, complex surgeries. He wanted to come out with a training, endo trainer kit. That is what indigenously developed by L&T Technology Services to train the surgeons so that they can use the Da Vinci when it is required. So productivity can be enhanced quite significantly. And it's again, we got an award from the NASCOM for that a year back. So this one, the bottom one, it just say as a digital health suite. This is another platform we developed for one of the OEM to collect the data from all their devices. Especially we did for ophthalmology company, which is in US. They use it for, at the end, they wanted to use it for this lens identification and the patient outcomes. Initially, to start with, they want to use it for the cataract, and finally, they want to use it for glaucoma and other things. We get the data from all the devices and also get connectivity from the EMR and EHR. Once you get the data, put in the cloud and helping the doctors pre-plan and post-plan in surgery as well post-plan. So this was again developed by us and is being used across the world already. That is the other one, the chest area and visualization I will tell. About 2 years back, maybe we can stop anytime, we can have questions and answers, okay? Because I can keep on explaining, so I just wanted to make sure that we are on the right place. Since this is 2 years back, or 2.5 years back, a couple of my colleagues, we wanted to go to the rural area and to find out what kind of problems are there in India, especially for the patient-centric issues. He was talking about pneumonia and chronic heart problem. We should get something from the chest X-ray. We should use it, and then probably we'll take the X-ray and using AIML, what we can do. So although we started with that, unfortunately, we came to know in the rural India, they don't even take the X-rays. They start, somebody is chronically ill and chronically coughing, they will start with the antibiotics or treatment without even going to the diagnostic test. So then went to another doctor, he said, start with the tuberculosis, go to the government hospital. From there, we started developing the model. Today, that model would able to cover about 32 symptoms. It automatically can give, once you give within 10 seconds, it will tell you, first of all, there is a problem or not. If it is a problem, it will list these are the different symptoms. And also doctors can, radiologists can annotate and overwrite it also, and also final report. Automatically within 10 seconds, report will be available. Okay, similar next step, we are also working with another company, still work in progress. Especially for the fourth stage, the cancer. There's no treatment. That company is working in Germany and Israel. They have partnered with us to develop a metrics for these tumors. So what happens is that when you are having a cancer, you know much better than me, you can correct me. And it takes many years or many months. And each month the doctors will have significant amount of documentation to go through if you are a really good doctor and like to understand what has happened in the and then come out with a this is probably the best that can be done. This would help in a one digital dashboard. It can be given what is the progressive thing which is happening on these tumors. There's another work we are doing in this one. Similarly, on the wearables we are working. So we wanted to come out with because these wearables are so popular, and it is also important to come out with some amount of an algorithm to have an AVP, especially the patients who are in the bed. Okay, we will extract using SpO2 as well as ECG. We can get the BP, and that is what we have done. That is already validated from our side. So these are the several things we have done, and we use technology like AIML and AR, VR, mobility, and this kind of new technology, and also the Wi-Fi and other things are very common. The Wi-Fi, Zigbee, or these kind of things. So I would like to stop here because if you guys, and another thing, the last slide we wanted to do was on our, since we are talking about collaboration. So this is an area in which we want to leave it. And our intention is to, since we are working only with the US, Europe, and Japan like that, we want to collaborate with the Indian hospitals and Indian academia. It is not that we are always successful. We also ventured into the ventilator, one of the prestigious university in India last year. Miserably failed. They had patented and a big news article in Times that they will do it. I explained during that time it's not so easy medical product. And they had patented an algorithm. After doing the integration, it did not work. Then the professor agreed it's not easy. So coming back to that, but however, 20 years back, West India was lagging behind significantly. Today, the amount of expertise we have, probably one of the best in the world. Since we are doing with our OEMs across the world, why we cannot do it here itself? That is what my question always. That's what I was talking to Dr. Mehta about. and Dr. Shalini earlier about a couple of months back. Unless we collaborate meaningfully and the strategic intent, we cannot happen. But if we do it, because in my view, each set of patients and regions, there are different problems. And we should handle locally rather than waiting for something should come from the Western world. That is the things of the past when we are not having that kind of the competence. Today, we are much ahead. Probably we are one of the best in the world today, including leading US. So hence, my suggestion is that we are trying to work with how we can work with academia. We are already working with IIT Madras, IIT Bombay, and IIC, and a couple of other universities. Similarly, in the hospitals, we are working with multiple hospitals and doctors. And also, we are working with the giants, technology giants like NVIDIA, Intel, stuff like that. If anyone is interested to come for a doctor to have an internship with us, we are open to that. And have a collaborative working to find, because domain knowledge is very important. We don't have domain knowledge. Probably what we have is that, only technology. In fact, our team worked earlier about 120 people for 2.5 years to program the defibrillator and the pacemaker using the mobile phones and iPads. It's not easy. I think out of that, they spent with one of the biggest company in US for 2.5 years to understand the physiology of the heart. It was not tribal knowledge. It's not easy. It's very easy. And the two doing in a mobile phone, because this is not a what you call completely validated product, right? Using a new technologies and how that can be segmented and still they can do that. It's tough. And it has been done. As also part of multiple such things, like another innovation I would like to mention is that we did one of the leading hospital beds. And we also did kind of a bedspread, which will enable to the patients, sleeps on that. They can able to identify the heart rate and respiratory using that. So that is connected devices. And similarly, when the patient wants to get up, sometimes they have a tendency to stand up, they will fall and result into a lot of problems. So how we can able to detect that? So we developed an algorithm to them, algorithm to detect these kind of things. There's so many things are going on. While you are doing these kind of things to our customers around the world, why not we do it? And also do the clinical trials in this hospital, and the results that we are trying to do with signing a memorandum of understanding with the multiple hospitals. So this is what I would like to say. I will stop here, and there are so many things I was thinking of explaining, but it's not, you are also tired to see the faces, and you're also students are probably some of you and some of you may have finished. I know how long you're sitting here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We will all attempt to answer those. Thank you, really, I appreciate it.
Any questions? Any questions for now? A question for
Any questions? No questions? Very good. Thank you. That is very happy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And really, we saw what things are done, and it just gives us more ideas of what can be done. Thank you very much for that talk. I invite Professor Patani, HOD Ophthalmology, to give a small token participation.
Excellent, sir.
Thank you everybody for making time and attending this program and making it a success. I would like to thank Dr. Megha. She's not here, but she started off this program with a really good speech and she's always been inspiring to all of us. And also thank the whole team of L&T for coming here and Dr. Ms. Muralidhar for this really wonderful talk. And for us on the academia side, it's really interesting to see what all is happening because we always stay in the room and we don't think beyond our subject. And thank you very much for that. And I also thank all the speakers from Chris, Dr. Ramesh and Dr. Sundar for the interesting talks that they presented. We have tea and refreshments outside. Please join us. Thank you.